The only way to maximize your luck, because so much of this does feel like luck, is to roll a lot.
Yes.
And so something that I tell people is, and I think that this is kind of the situation that we put ourselves in with Dropout, or endeavor to, is how can you put yourself in a position where you get to roll a lot?
Yes.
You know, how can you sort of, knowing that like a lot of this is luck and a lot of talent is inherent, and a lot, you know, talent gets better over time and with practice.
Yeah.
Can you be prolific instead, like focus on being prolific instead of
Dude, I think about this all the time, specifically with the thing that I think is a big cultural conversation right now about work ethic. And I see a lot of interesting things, so I'm in very progressive spaces online, and there are genuine...
Cool. You should come hang out where I hang out. I got some subreddits you should subscribe to.
I feel threatened and uncomfortable. Oh no! But finding like these spaces where sometimes it's unclear how people feel about work or labor, because there's a weird thing of, I even like, there's a little.
Oh,
thing,
I know what you're saying.
You know, like in an adventuring party, I remember like Siobhan was making fun of me for being a workaholic and was like, "Oh, you love capitalism," and I had this weird cling, like a weird dissonant chord in my head, where I was like, "Well, work is not capitalism. Capitalism is the exploitation of another's labor.
Yes.
The exploitation is the bad part, not the
work.
Work, like." Like things do need to be created. Like food needs to get moved from point A to point B. Like work is beautiful.
For sure.
You know, that's a beautiful thing. And and it's the fact that we denigrate certain kinds of work and don't celebrate all work that is like so painful and hurtful, and that it gets exploited. And talking about getting a lot of chances to roll the dice, I definitely feel that way in terms of like my own relationship to when I was like working on them, actually, you know, like I submitted to be a cast member at College Humor, had my Tim Curry eating pizza.
Incredible. To this date, my favorite thing I've ever done. No, just kidding.
No. Honestly, I get it. Hot, crisp crust. So silly. I remember putting those fishnets on in my bedroom to record on my Mac camera, being like, what the fuck am I doing? But within that context, like when I first, you know, it like, and I got thanked for it, and I think some people reached out and said some very nice stuff, and then like a month or two later, it's like, come write questions from, actually. And I remember writing those and sitting there and watching the cast members go off to shoot sketches and be like, that looks really fun.
Yeah.
And I wrote twice as many questions than I ended up delivering from, actually, and I would delete tons of them just to get to the best
ones.
And there's this weird thing in that of like looking at that work ethic, and I think about it's that weird thing that I juggle in my own head around, is that healthy or unhealthy? But I think I talk a lot about it too, with just in terms of like having the understanding of opportunity will come at some point. Like, in other words, you're going around the carousel and there's a brass ring and you don't know when it's coming and you don't know how many times you're going around the circle. So what you need to do is work so hard that you are levitating at brass ring. You need to jump and just through will hover at brass ring height through pure exertion of energy. And is that healthy? That's for mental health professionals to determine.
It is. I'm sure there are like better routes to where like we've ended up maybe than where we've ended up. But I do feel this way in which, like, given the fact that we're all playing this capitalist game, we're all forced to, that there is a way in which you have to almost like leverage your job back into power at some point. It's very hard to start from like a raw position of power. Like let's be very clear about this, stole College Humor's influence.
Yes.
And are now running with this machine.
But
like the capitalist machine invented College Humor. If we had all tried to do this from scratch, very different story.
Very different story. And I think too, it's that thing where, as I like talking about that kind of like, how do you give yourself as many rolls as possible to hit that nat 20? And it's grueling.
Yeah.
And it's a feeling too of like, you know, in hindsight, like I've talked about this a lot, especially because like the same thing when I was like doing twice as many questions from actually,
Yeah.
I used to, when I was working as a tape logger at The Daily Show, I was literally transcribing C-SPAN footage.
Yeah.
I used to do double the amount of bins of anyone else and stay till like 3 or 4 in the morning, being like, they'll notice that I'm doing twice as many bins. They never noticed. And, or if they did, they said, great, now we don't have to hire this guy again for another week, you know, because he did all that extra stuff. So, but in other words, you look back and you're like, I see wasted effort. There was an easier way to get here that wouldn't have been so grueling.
Yeah.
But that guy didn't know it.
that. Yeah,
Like, I didn't
absolutely.
know that. So how could I, like, what could I have imparted to be like, hey, take it easy until you move to Los Angeles in 2016,
Totally.
where the opportunity will present itself to suddenly,
All you're doing is maximizing your odds.
yeah, you're just maximizing odds.
Yeah.
Let me roll as many times as I can. Damn. And that's why Nat 20s are...
Totally. We really stuck on theme. You're welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew, you're fucking welcome, dude. And that's Contested Roll.